You're listening to the Free to Be Mindful podcast, which provides bite-sized tips for busy parents, educators, and anyone working with kids. These real talk conversations focus on mindful living, mental health, and personal growth, helping all to learn, grow, and inspire with mindfulness in mind. I'm your host, Vanessa de Jesus Guzman, educator, licensed professional counselor, entrepreneur, and mom. I'm passionate about helping folks live life with peace of mind and ease of heart while not losing their, well, you know, here we go. Welcome to the very first episode or trailer of the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I'm so honored that you're here sharing this space with me today. And if we're going to spend some time together, I think it only makes sense that you get to know me a bit. I'd love to share a little bit about me and how the podcast came to be and what you can expect each week. So about me professionally. Since I was in kindergarten, I always wanted to be a teacher. My first year of college, I also thought about psychology and communications, and I did major in elementary education and psychology. And here I am, a former second grade teacher, middle school counselor, and licensed professional counselor who has her own private practice. I also do speaking engagements, and I've done pretty cool things like be on the Today Show, and now I have my own podcast. So it sounds pretty simple looking back in hindsight, but as an 18-year-old freshman, I didn't know I would end up here. Personally, in case you couldn't tell from the supposed accent people say I have, I'm a Jersey girl. My family's from Dominican Republic, and I'm a first-generation college graduate. I'm bilingual. I speak both Spanish and English, with Spanish being my first language, and my culture is pretty important to me. I'm a mom of an amazing, amazing little boy. And as of the summer of 2020, I'm also a pandemic puppy mom to an awesome golden doodle and a wife to a pretty supportive guy who entertains my many initiatives. So as you can tell from my podcast and my practice's name, Free to Be Mindful, mindfulness is my jam. And here's why. From the professional lens, as an educator, we give and we give and we give of ourselves, and many times until there's nothing left. We put other people's children sometimes in front of our own, and our brains are always thinking a few steps ahead. And by the end of any given week, marking period, or even school year, we're pretty burnt out. From the personal lens, generally speaking, in the Latinx culture, having a strong work ethic is pretty important. And so you work and you work and you work. And as a woman, you get married and you raise some kids and you cook awesome food and you look amazing while doing it. But nowhere in between is this self-care stressed ever. And there's a huge stigma on mental illness. So I was first exposed to mindfulness during a graduate class on counseling across religion. And I think really that the professor just had an interest in mindfulness herself. And we would start off every single class with a short meditation exercise. And at first I was like, come on, lady, let's just get through it. But through the weeks, I could really tell how my body and my mind almost longed for it. And I really enjoyed those few minutes and moments of stillness. And when I was pregnant, I took up prenatal yoga, and that helped me physically, but really mentally as well. So as an educator, I was trained in responsive classroom, and I've always had a passion for focusing on students' social emotional learning, which lends itself really nicely to the conversation of mindset and mindfulness. So I knew it was pretty awesome for kids. And when I was working on my licensure hours to earn my licensed professional counselor certification, I was a full-time middle school counselor. I worked as an in-home clinician with at-risk youth and families. And I was also heading social skills groups. And really, I was stressed beyond limits. And while I was working on my goals, I was stressed all the time. I gained a ton of weight. I was unhappy for a long period of time. And it was during that time that I took up an interest on mindfulness in hopes of really staying sane. And I then found the program of Mindful Schools and enrolled in their year-long certification program, which was how I not only talk the talk, but now I walk the walk. It was truly an eye-opening experience, life-changing, I would say, and I highly recommend the program to anyone who works with kids. So, why the podcast? I know that not everybody has an hour and a half to listen to a podcast of sorts. You guys are busy, just as I am. So, it's my goal to make these 10 to 15 minutes max of packing in personal stories, entertaining, real talk, and then putting in some practical strategies so that you can really get something out of it and then implement it in your own lives. So, what can you expect? Short episodes relevant to parents and educators, because ain't nobody got time for an hour and a half episode, and really practical strategies embedded in real life examples and tips on mental health, personal growth, and mindfulness. So, with that said, right now, regardless if you're washing dishes or if you're driving or if you're just sitting listening to this podcast, just take a breath in and let it go. And one more time, breathe in through your nose and make your out breath longer than your in breath. And that's it, my friends. Just taking a breath throughout your day can give you a sense of clarity and of peace. We'll learn more as we go along, I promise. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. It would mean a ton if you took this moment to review the Free to Be Mindful podcast on the platform you catch your favorite shows. That quick and easy act lets me know what you enjoy, and it helps others find the podcast too. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you can listen along next week. In the meantime, I welcome you to catch me on social media at Counselor V de Jesus. And as always, remember, in a world where you are free to be anything that you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. Catch you next week.